Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Stephen Mercer, and I've been involved in the world of college admission counseling for over 2 decades. I've worked in a college admission office. I've worked in a high school as a college director of college counseling. And now, in addition to being an instructor through the online classes leading to a college counseling certificate through UC San Diego Extension, I'm also an independent educational consultant, which means I'm a private college counselor, and families and students hire me to help me with their process of applying to college and make good decisions and find great places to go to college. With the pandemic that we're all suffering through, there's been a lot of changes in college admission right now, and it's a bit of a roller coaster, even for someone like me where I do this full time and I'm thinking about this all the time and I'm reading and talking to colleagues. And I can only imagine for so many students and families, and for the students and families I'm working with, I know that people have a lot of questions. The first thing I want to say to those questions is there aren't a lot of answers right now. And I know that that might be a little bit of frustrating, but I want to be really encouraging and let everyone know that they should be patient. The colleges that are out there trying to admit students, trying to get them to come next year, thinking about the upcoming applications for juniors, I want to assure everyone that they are just as worried about you and their college experience and what's going to be happening in the near future as you are. They have just as many questions. They are not taking this lightly. And I know for a fact that the colleges all across the United States, big and small, public and private, are working really hard to try to come up with great answers for the seniors who are really making some quick decisions right now about what they might be doing next year, but also the juniors whose applications are ramping up right about now and certainly will be taking off in the summer and in the fall. So I just want you to remember that I want you to be patient, and I want you to understand that the colleges care deeply about what's happening to all of you, whether you're a student or a family, a junior or a senior in high school. And also understand that the colleges right now are being remarkably flexible. So some of the questions I'm getting from students are really specific things like what's going to happen with the grades that I'm receiving this year, with the transition to online learning, or my tests have been canceled, my SAT and my ACT. How am I possibly going to apply to college? And the biggest message I want to give right now, and this is coming directly from colleges, is it's okay. Colleges understand fully that there's just an upheaval in everyone's life right now, and it's impacting the application process in a big way. So be patient with yourself and understand that colleges are going to be patient and flexible as well. I want to be a little bit more specific though. High school seniors are asking me a lot of questions about what they should be doing next year. One of the biggest questions they're asking is it safe to go to college next year? Obviously no one knows how long this pandemic is going to last, and the changes that are being implemented, the stay-at-home orders, the canceled classes, the limits on gatherings, we just don't know. But right now, I think most seniors should assume that school will continue next fall in a fairly normal fashion. And I'm encouraging all the high school seniors that I'm talking with right now to just go ahead and make their plans as though they're going off to college in the most, traditional, normal way that they were as they imagined, just a month ago. If things are going to change, the colleges are going to communicate to you very, very clearly. Remember that the colleges and universities in the United States, no matter where they were some of the very first institutions to take pretty careful and conservative orders to close and to shut down their campuses and to close down their dorms in the name of safety of their students and their faculty and their staff. So I think colleges across the board are thinking really carefully about this, and I don't think they are going to bring students back to campus in the fall if they don't believe it's safe. So you have to stay tuned, but proceed as though everything is going to be normal next year. Now, another big question I'm getting from seniors is it worth it? If my classes are going to be canceled, if I won't be able to live in a dormitory, if I'm going to be far away from home, if you're a student that's considering moving away from home to go to college, is it even worth doing all of this if I'm not going to have what a lot of people call the college experience, right? Moving out, living in dorms, being active on campus. And that's another big question that we just don't have answers to right now. I'd go back to my response to what I said about, is it going to be safe? For now, I think seniors should plan on attending college in the fall, but let's keep an open mind to what changes might be going on for the fall. We'll know more in the next few weeks, perhaps in the next few months, on what classes will look like and what campuses will look like in the fall, and we'll know better what's going to be really happening. And the truth is if it's all online learning and if everything's remote and if students who had anticipated living in dorms, being active on campus, moving out of their houses and being independent and growing into adulthood, if that's going to look remarkably different, it may not be worth going off to college right away. There's a lot of students talking about a gap year. And a gap year is something that's becoming a lot more popular even before this pandemic. And that's a time off from school, often after high school graduation and in between starting colleges. And a lot of students are asking, should I take a gap year? It's a good question to ask. I don't think there's answers to that right now. So I'd say that my advice is to stay tuned, but proceed as though everything's going to be on track for the fall. Now, I'm also getting a lot of questions, and this is probably the biggest question from seniors and from seniors' families. How am I going to pay for college with the downturn in the economy, with the cost of college already so high? And I'm afraid that there aren't any simple answers about this. I do know that colleges are going to be flexible. Colleges want students to come. To the extent that colleges are something like a business that rely on students attending and paying tuition, they're going to need to be flexible and come up with ways for students to attend and to pay their fees and to pay their tuition. I don't know what those plans are yet, but what I would encourage every family to do who is asking really hard questions about how they believe or how if they're concerned about paying for college for next year is to reach out via phone or email or both directly to the financial aid office at the colleges or universities that they are considering attending and have this conversation. You're not the only one asking the question. It's what financial aid offices are there for. Like a lot of offices right now, it might take a little bit of time for them to get back to you with the transition to remote work and the changes that that's throwing everyone. But I really sincerely encourage you to reach out, because the more they hear from individual families and students about individual concerns, the better able they'll be able to respond both to you individually, but also broadly to understand what their incoming class needs. So those will emerge by you chipping in and asking those questions. Finally, I will say that with the downturn in the economy and the steps that federal governments are taking and that the state government's taking, there's likely going to be a decrease in the interest rates that students and families will need to be paying for student loans. And those interest rate changes will be happening fairly soon. Some of that is automatic and some of that's going to be in response to the pandemic. Now, I don't want to talk only about seniors. There's a lot to talk about high school juniors. Traditionally, high school juniors are starting to ramp up their college application right now. And there's a long way to go. There's many months left. But a lot of students are starting their work, starting to visit colleges, starting to decide where to apply. And they're certainly involved with a lot of things related to standardized testing and making sure their grades for the end of junior year are the best they can be, because they know that those are going to be presented to colleges in a pretty serious way. I don't have a lot of answers, but I know that there's a lot of questions, and I have them too. In a future episode, I'd like to update students, juniors in particular, on those in more detail and have some folks come in and give some more updates on what's going on with testing, but I'm going to be really brief. There's a lot of canceled standardized test dates right now. This is changing daily. In fact, I just sent out an email yesterday to my students and families that I'm working with in the morning, and 2 hours later, that email was completely irrelevant because everything had changed with the test dates scheduled for the June SAT setting being canceled. So my advice to juniors, be patient. There are going to be more changes to test dates. Right now, we know that likely there's going to be no more testing happening, in-person testing in any kind of group setting for this school year. There are possibly going to be take-home tests. There are most definitely going to be many alternate test dates scheduled, possibly in the summer and most certainly in the fall. And there are going to be a lot more test dates scheduled. We don't know where those will be. They might be in schools. They might be at traditional testing sites. We're just going to have to be patient. Another major change that students are seeing, and I'm seeing, are the huge increase in colleges in response to all of these canceled test dates, choosing to be test optional for next year or forever. And test optional is a really new concept that's been gaining speed in a very significant way even before all of this. And what that means is, for students that are applying to a college that are test optional, it means you do not need to submit your SAT or ACT scores to be seriously considered for admission to that school. Now, a lot of students have said to me, great, that means I don't have to take the tests. I'm done. I'm going to give up studying. I'm just going to focus on school or free time or whatever it is. And that big pressure is now lifted from me. I want to be really cautious here. Whether or not a student chooses to forego taking an SAT or ACT and trying to navigate all of these canceled test dates and see when they could take it again or consider taking them at home if that's going to be made available, that is an individual decision. And it requires a bit of thought before just across the board deciding to go. And it's something I'm having individual conversations with different students. For some students, it makes a lot of sense just to take a pause, a really big pause, and not study for SAT or ACT and just ride it out and possibly go test optional next year. For other juniors who might be particularly strong test takers or who might be applying to particularly selective universities, I think it makes more sense to stay the course, slowly study for your SAT or ACT. Don't overdo it right now because we don't know when it's going to be scheduled again. But plan on taking it because a good test score is going to work in your favor in an application, even if a college is test optional. Finally, there's been a lot of upheaval to the juniors who are participating in extracurricular activities and are aware that they'd like to put those extracurriculars in their applications because they want to show colleges that they're active, engaged, and talented in particular areas outside of the classroom. Well, it's really hard to engage in those activities now that most of you are under stay-at-home orders. So there's a lot to unpack here, and I'd like to go into more detail on this in a future update. But what I'd say is two things. On one hand, be flexible, be creative. There are a lot of things you can do with digital technology, with Zoom, with online, get your friends together, brainstorm, and there's a whole bunch of people that need a lot of things. And so see what you can do and see if there's anything creative that pops up. But the other option that I want to put out there, and this comes directly from an admission dean at a very selective university that's been doing this longer than me, who said, I remember when extracurricular activities were something that students did a little bit of, but certainly when summer came, they didn't overdo the extracurricular activities. Most students had summer vacation. And maybe this is a little bit of a reminder that it's okay to take a break. It's okay not to beat yourself up if you're a student worried about your extracurriculars. And just relax, focus on school, focus on weathering this pandemic in a healthy way that keeps you balanced and happy at home with your family and friends, and take a nice step back and try to maybe rethink how many extracurriculars you're really doing and take the pressure off from yourself to engage in more this summer. Maybe engage in less. So that's a lot to share with you in this first episode. I'd like to update you further in the future, and I hope this was helpful. Okay, bye now.